Hello and welcome to our 7-8 minutes of weekly Torah talk. Our guest today is Rabbi Rachael Bregman from the Temple Beit Tefillah in Brownswick, Georgia. Hello, Rabbi. Thank you for being with us from Vermont, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely. Hi, Shmuel. It's great to be here with you today.
Tomorrow's Parsha is Korach, another dramatic story, another dramatic Parsha. In this Parsha, Moses, is challenged with a mutiny led by Korach and his allies Datan and Aviram. Joining them are 250 distinguished members of the community, all of which want to be priests, like Aaron. The earth opens up and swallows the mutineers. A subsequent plague is stopped by Aaron's offering of Ketoret. Aaron's staff miraculously blossoms and brings forth almonds to prove that his designation as the high priest is divinely ordained. God commands that a terumah, uplifting from each crop of grain, wine, and oil, as well as all firstborn sheep and cattle and other specified gifts, be given to the Kohanim. This parsha begins with a list of names. ויקח קורח בן יצהר בן קהת בן לוי ודתן ואבירם בני אליאב ואון בן פלט בן ראובן. Korach, the son of Yitzhar, the son of Kohath, the son of Levi, took himself on one side along with Datan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, and on the son of Peleth, descendants of Reuben. So, Rabbi, are they rebelling against Moses or are they rebelling against Aaron? If they want to be priests, it's Aaron they're really after.
I think there's so much going on in the portion, and the rebellion is maybe a little bit of a red herring. And it's an easy piece for us to look at because it's so exciting and it's so dramatic. But I think there's an undercurrent to the story that goes beyond the rebellion that's ultimately about Aaron and Moses. And what I think is so interesting about this parsha is that this scene, right after the rebellion, the earth has swallowed Korach and his minions whole, and then the people come back the next day and they complain, and this plague is about to begins to break out in the camp. And Moses turns to Aaron and he says, "Take your fire pan and stop the plague." And it's the first time that Moses speaks directly to Aaron since Parashat Shmini, which is the beginning of Leviticus, when Aaron's two sons, Nadav and Abihu, are consumed by this strange fire. So in the middle of this whole rebellion, there's this moment of what I think ultimately is reconciliation. I think the Parsha of Korach has all these resonances with Shmini back in Leviticus. There's the use of the fire pan, right? Nadav and Abihu, Aaron's two sons, brought a strange fire and Eish Zara,
Right.
with their fire pans. In this portion, God says that whoever comes near the altar cannot be a strange person, an ish zar. So we have this sort of echo of the language. We have the fire pans in both stories. And we also have Nadav and Abihu are eaten by the fire. The Hebrew word is to eat.
Right.
Whereas Korach and his minions are swallowed up by the earth. So there's some interesting things going on in these two stories.
Parallels. I never thought about that.
Yeah, it's as if the two stories are talking to each other. And so in hearing the dialogue between Shmini and Korach, I think there's some interesting things happening between Moses and Aaron. So if we go back to Shmini, I think that it's a very painful portion to me because Aaron loses his children, and Moses, his brother, in this moment of loss, tells him that he must be silent and he must stay still. He must return to the tent, the Ohel Moed, the tent of meeting, and he has to stay there. He's not allowed out, and he's not allowed to drink, and he's not allowed to do anything. He has to stay and continue his priestly work, and he can't mourn his children. And I think Moses makes a mistake. I think Moses is young in his leadership, and I want him as a leader to offer a moment of love and appreciation and compassion for his brother. And he doesn't do it. And then they don't speak to each other for all of this time. And here we are, we come back together. And we're in this Korach Parsha. And Moses says to Aaron, take your fire pan. So the last time someone took their fire pan and offered up an offering out of the ordinary temple scenario was Nadab and Abihu, and they got zapped.
Right, right.
So now Moses is telling Aaron to do the same thing.
It ended up badly for the family.
It went badly for the family. So it's a very high-risk thing that Moses is asking Aaron to do. It doesn't come from God. It comes from Moses. It's a very scary thing that Moses asks Aaron to do. And Aaron, who in our first scene is silent and is still, now comes to life and is in action. He actually says that Aaron runs to the middle of the camp, right? Torah is very particular with her words.
Right.
And so when it says that Aaron ran, it means Aaron really ran. Like he took off like a shot, and he's really moving. He's alive. There's a lot of activity in it. And he runs and he lights up this fire on his fire pan, and the plague is checked. And then you have the scene that comes next, and this is my favorite part of the story, where all of the staffs of each of the heads of all the tribes are placed into the ark, and Moses gets to say, we'll see who's really so great. And the next day, Aaron's staff not only wins, right? It's not only the best staff or the biggest staff, but it sprouts almond blossoms. It turns into this sort of almond tree. And that to me is like the ultimate sign of rebirth and renewal. When I think about the holiday of Tu B'Shvat, when I think about living in Israel, and it's January and life is frozen and cold, all of a sudden the Chag, Tu B'Shvat, comes around and these almond blossoms are everywhere. And they're these little tiny blossoms, and they're beautiful, it's gorgeous.
Right.
It's a sign that life is returning to the earth. And I think in this moment, it's a sign that life is returning to the relationship between Moses and Aaron. So I think in the beginning, in Shmini, Moses really relegates Aaron into the priesthood. He sort of traps him in there and contains him in the priesthood. He can't get out. And then the best he can do, and I think Moses doesn't know how to say I'm sorry, but I think the best he can do, we see in Shmini, is he takes the priesthood and he elevates it, and he elevates Aaron, and he offers this beautiful, loving, touching tribute to his brother, where I think he is redeemed, and I think that their relationship ultimately is saved.
And why now? Because of they needed the outside threat to become unified again?
Maybe. It might have been the outside threat, and it might have been, Moses functions largely by himself, right? He has Aaron and Miriam throughout his lifetime, but we don't see them together, right? There's Midrash that puts them together, but we don't see the three of them as one team, functioning as a whole, functioning as a family. And so I think there's something about the level of threat that Moses is so much at risk, that the whole enterprise is so much at risk, that finally he recognizes, I can't do this all by myself. I need my family. I need my brother. I need this person to be with me to help me through this.
That's very interesting. And going back to Shmini, I'm just curious. I know we're talking about Korach, but why do you have this sense that Moshe made a mistake? Did Aaron not want to be silent at that time? Because I always thought Aaron was, there was something heroic about him, not using words during such time of crisis and sorrow.
I think that Aaron is stoic and he goes along with it, but I think Moses misses a chance to be there for his brother. And I feel that is such an important thing to do. I feel like that's something, I want the Torah to value that. I want the characters in the Torah to value that, because I value that. And I think it's why the Parsha of Shmini is so painful. We see Aaron have this incredible loss that is unimaginable to me. And to have your brother not offer even a touch, something, right? I don't need Moses to let Aaron out of the priesthood, and I don't need Moses to dismiss him from his duties. But I need Moses to hug his brother. I need Moses to comfort him in some way, and he doesn't. And that's where I think that there's a miss. I think that Moses is so steeped in being the leader of the Jewish people that he forgets to be a human. He forgets to be a human being for his brother in this time of crisis.
Would you say the same thing about his response to the horrible punishment of our parsha, the earth swallowing so many people and their tents and their wives and children and everybody?
It's tricky. I think I'm so used to Moses as being so removed from the people that I hadn't thought about his lack of empathy and compassion for the loss of the people in Korach. But I think so. I think there's something missing there too. And maybe the reason you have this blossoming almond tree is also a way of Moses trying to connect with these people that he's so removed from. I mean, I think Moses has such a tough path to walk because he's human, but so much of his life is with God that it keeps him perpetually separated from his community and from his family. And so he's the leader of a community that he can't really walk amongst. And I don't think he totally gets what their experience is like, because his experience is so different from theirs. And I don't think they truly understand him either. So, yeah, I think that he sort of misses it again. But I think he does a little bit of a better job. Ultimately, Moses comes in and he sends Aaron to save the day, right? Instead of doing nothing, Moses protects the people.
Even more people die from the plague.
Yeah. So he kind of comes through in the end. I think it's sort of heroic and redemptive for Moses too.
Rabbi, thank you so much. Enjoy your time, and Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you so much. Shabbat Shalom.